Silence, all stand.
All persons having any business before this honourable court now draw nigh. Give your attendance and you will be heard. God save the Queen.
Chief Judge, I have the honour to announce that I have been appointed a judge of this court and President of the Children's Court. I present my commission.
Thank you, Judge. Have a seat, please. I will have the commissions read. Judicial Registrar, could you please read the commissions?
Whereas by the District Court Act 1973 is enacted that the Governor may, by commission under the public seal of the state, appoint any qualified person as a judge of the District Court of New South Wales. Now I, the Honourable Margaret Beasley, ACQC, the Governor aforesaid, in pursuance of the power and authority vested in me in that behalf, do, with the advice of the Executive Council of New South Wales, hereby appoint you, the said Ellen Lucy Skinner, being a person qualified to be so appointed, to be a judge of the said court on and from the 22nd day of November 2021, provided always that you shall, except in the case of leave of absence duly granted to you, actually execute the office to which you are by this commission appointed. Given under the hand of Her Excellency, the Honourable Margaret Beasley, Companion of the Order of Australia, Queen's Counsel, Governor of the State of New South Wales, and the Commonwealth of Australia, this 17th day of November 2021. Whereas by the Children's Court Act 1987 it is enacted that the Governor may, by commission under the public seal of the state, appoint a judge of the District Court of New South Wales as the President of the Children's Court of New South Wales. Now I, the Honourable Margaret Beasley, ACQC, the Governor aforesaid, in pursuance of the power and authority vested in me in that behalf, do, with the advice of the Executive Council of New South Wales, hereby appoint you, the said Ellen Lucy Skinner, being a person qualified to be so appointed, as the President of the said Children's Court, for the period commencing on the 22nd day of November 2021 and expiring on the 21st day of November 2026. Given under the hand of Her Excellency, the Honourable Margaret Beasley, Companion of the Order of Australia, Queen's Counsel, Governor of the State of New South Wales and the Commonwealth of Australia, this 17th day of November 2021.
Judge Skinner, will you please rise and take the affirmations of office?
I, Ellen Lucy Skinner, do sincerely declare and affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors, according to law. I, Ellen Lucy Skinner, do sincerely declare and affirm that I will well and truly serve our Sovereign Lady, Queen Elizabeth II, in the office of a Judge of the District Court of New South Wales and President of the Children's Court, and I will do right to all manner of people after the laws and usages of this state, without fear or favour, affection or ill will.
The affirmations will be placed in the court archives as a record of this occasion. Judge Skinner, on behalf of all the judges of the court, I warmly congratulate you and wish you every success in your important role as President of the Children's Court of New South Wales.
Thank you, Chief Judge.
Attorney.
May it please the Court. I begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Gadigal of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. Your Honour, Judge Skinner, on behalf of the State and the Bar, it's my great pleasure to congratulate you on your appointment as President of the Children's Court and as a Judge of the District Court of New South Wales. I also acknowledge and congratulate your family members here today, your partner, Judge Gartleman, not sure where he is behind the mask, your children, Sam, Lek and Eliza, your parents, Jan and Lindsay, your younger sister, Jess, and her partner, Billy, and children, Ned and Sophie, your older sister, Claire, her partner, Sven, and children, Mary and Fred. And now to Your Honour. Your families, friends and colleagues' memories and anecdotes portray an empathetic and charismatic judicial officer with the big picture vision to innovate and focus on improving outcomes for children. You grew up in Chatswood as the middle child. You attended Artarmon Public School and were in the opportunity class. You relished all the creative activities this afforded. Projects like producing your own newspaper helped foster your creative streak. Dinner table conversation in the Skinner family was an important evening ritual. Your parents liked to bring friends into the fold to take part. They included you and your sisters in adult conversations about social issues. Not everyone who came along saw it as the fun family ritual that you all did. One school friend once remarked, "That's not a dinner conversation, that's a blood sport." But blood sport or not, you excelled at it. The aim of the game was to be interesting and funny. From an early age, you showed an exceptional ability with your oratory skills and dramatic timing. The rest of the family knew you couldn't be beaten. Your father often referred to you as silver-tongued, though your sister says there may have been a further adjective involved that I won't put on the record. But this gives us an idea of the competitive nature there. You were only allowed to watch television on a Friday afternoon. You followed creative pursuits like painting and drawing and did well at sport, playing volleyball, netball and touch football. You were a vociferous reader. You and your sisters also played in a school jazz band. You were their Miles Davis, playing the trumpet. The trumpet took you touring to the United States. Your parents were and are your great cheerleaders and brought you and your sisters up to believe you could do anything. You were skill captain at Chatswood High. You were popular with your peers and your enthusiasm was well known for drawing people in. Your parents had some family friends, Ray and Jack Graham, who'd often come to dinner. They were to have a profound effect on you. They're one of the reasons you're being sworn in here today. Jack was a prisoner's lawyer for legal aid. I'm told he was not just an extraordinary storyteller, but also an extraordinary force of nature. Jack Graham was often on parole boards. He spoke about the experiences of perpetrators. This wasn't an angle or insight many people grow up thinking about. Jack instilled an awareness in you of people who commit crime or are accused of crime. It was formative and has stayed with you ever since. Because of Jack, your sense of social justice, and because of your talent with words, it was natural that you'd pursue a career in the law. You were elated to gain entry to arts law at the Australian National University and finally be on your way to following this path. After graduating, you worked for a Sydney legal practice and were admitted as a legal practitioner in the year 2000. Following this was a brief stint researching and writing for television. You worked on a drama series with the working title of Prosecutor. This later became Young Lions, a show set in a Sydney police station starring a young Alex Demetriadis. It wasn't long after that you applied for a job in the Children's Legal Service at Legal Aid. The senior solicitor at the time still clearly remembers your cover letter. It stated something to the effect of, "I would love nothing more than to work in the Children's Legal Service." The senior solicitor had never read a cover letter that was so passionate. She hired you. She's very pleased she did. That senior solicitor is now the State Coroner, Her Honour Teresa O'Sullivan. At Legal Aid, you were true to that passion expressed in your cover letter. You became known for roping everyone in to help with a cause, from legal stakeholders and different interest groups to even getting your parents to volunteer their services. Your father, a retired architect, carried out renovations, while your mother took on office work looking after spreadsheets, correspondence, and overseeing the books. Your Honour also worked for the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, where you gained a reputation as a very competent lawyer with empathy, compassion and kindness. Following this, you were Managing Solicitor at the Australian Aboriginal Legal Service. Here you gained a reputation for your diligence and your careful and warm organisation of people and cases. you were known as the master of work charts, spreadsheets, and careful planning of cases and your staff. You were also an open door manager, within limits. While your door was always open, on your desk was a handcrafted stoplight device. If the green arm was up, you were open for all advice and questions. Orange was less inviting. Red said, "My door is always open, but." In 2009, Your Honour was appointed to the bench. You were and remain to be the youngest magistrate ever appointed in New South Wales. When some media appeared questioning your age and experience, His Honour Judge Henson called your mother to assure her that not only would you be looked after by collegiate peers, but he'd observed you in court and was absolutely certain of your clear-headed ability on the bench. Incidentally, your mother agreed. On the bench as Magistrate Skinner, you've been considerate, direct and plain-speaking. I'm told you haven't shied away from stern sentences. At one point, you sent a former police inspector to jail for lying to the Police Integrity Commission, taking no pleasure in sending a necessary signal about lying to watchdog agencies. You've always explained clearly, in understandable language, your reasons for judicial decisions. Your openness as a judicial decision maker has been a clear strength, particularly in the Children's Court. Throughout your career, your contribution to the legal profession has been significant. You're known as someone who enthusiastically volunteers to be on committees and give talks and workshops. As the legal aid solicitor for the Children's Legal Service at the Children's Court, you often spoke with Judge Dive of the Drug Court about how to get services to assist the court in doing better. It was the start of a big picture vision that you've become known for. Your aim is not merely to process cases, but to strive for continuous improvement by looking how the courts, the service system and the government can work together to improve outcomes for children. Diverting children from the criminal justice system is something you've been committed to as the Broadmeadow Children's Court Magistrate. This has included focusing on rehabilitation and diversion options for Aboriginal young people and engaging with available local Aboriginal community groups. Early in your role, you contacted a colleague in what is now the Department of Communities and Justice to look at how the service system and government could work together to help ensure children would not return to the court. This involved linking together child protection, youth justice, education, health and police. You brought them together as an interagency group to improve the outcomes for children coming before the court for criminal matters. And Your Honour did this in your characteristic style, holding morning teas, baking your famous brownies, bringing everyone together to build relationships. You harnessed these occasions to talk about some of the things you were seeing that needed work and the ways to best meet the needs of children in the service system. You're known for being very collegiate. You focus on birthdays for work colleagues and friends and are always the organiser, pulling together videos and treasure hunts. In these videos, you made an art form of photographing Lego mini figures in exotic, unusual and sometimes compromising locations. These activities were designed to help people know how special they are and to help everyone celebrate. The flash mob you organised at last year's Magistrates Conference was particularly memorable for many. During COVID, you found interesting ways to keep your colleagues connected. You set challenges for people in video and then messaged consistently to keep the communication going. You're the second fastest runner on the Children's Court bench. You were the silver medalist at the inaugural Children's Court 100-metre dash this year. Admittedly, there were only 2 entrants. Your sister reports that while you're good at almost everything, you're a terrible dancer. That's curious because your colleagues report otherwise. They say Your Honour is an enthusiastic and graceful dancer. And their proof is in seeing you master the famous lift from Dirty Dancing on your first attempt. You're known to have unrivalled enthusiasm, drive and a disarming personality, capable of convincing your judicial brothers and sisters to join strange web groups for jokes and emojis, participate in competitive judicial education seminars, text bomb each other on special occasions, and post videos of themselves singing and dancing to encourage each other through COVID lockdowns. You're thought to be one of the only judicial officers who bring cake to court user meetings, decorate the court offices for Halloween, play handball and like to go down to the beach in the dark and the wet to experience the sunrise. You're not so good, I'm told, at jumping off desks or riding your bike to work. Judge Skinner, you bring to the bench your ability to bring people together, creativity, big picture vision, empathy and kindness. Your appointment acknowledges the skills, expertise and specialist knowledge you've acquired throughout your service to the law and your hard work, dedication and personal sacrifice. In the words of the great trumpet player Miles Davis, it's not about standing still and becoming safe. If anyone wants to keep creating, they have to be about change. From the outset of your career, you've had that big picture vision to innovate. There's no place where this creativity and enthusiasm for collaboration and improvement is more important than in the New South Wales Children's Court. Congratulations and the warmest of wishes for your continuing career on the bench. May it please the Court.
Thank you, Attorney. President Warner.
May it please the Court. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. And I acknowledge and extend my respects to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who may be present today. President Skinner, how exciting is that? The news of your appointment has been met with universal delight. In fact, one of my fellow councillors just kept repeating delight. Have I told you what a delight she is to appear in front of? She's just delightful. Have I told you that yet? Yes, you've told me. She's a delight. I got that point. So the state solicitors are confident that you will make this position your own in a way that profoundly benefits the children of this state. As President of the Law Society of New South Wales, I welcome the appointment of a solicitor to this role and of another extraordinarily accomplished woman to the court. Your Honour's ability to see the justice system as a force for good in each child's life and your commitment to improving outcomes for young people will bring a powerful perspective to your leadership of the Children's Court. Your Honour has a valued background as both a prosecution and legal aid lawyer. Further, 2 interesting experiences early in your life, authoring a novel about young people and working as the researcher for a TV criminal law drama foreshadowed a career at the law concerned with the lives of youth. While at Legal Aid, you juggled a high volume of work in various locations, including Tamworth and Burwood, and jurisdictions including the local court, the district court, and the Children's Court. Colleagues remember you being engaged in a practical way with clients, often sitting down and drawing diagrams to help illustrate a point. Your time as manager of the Aboriginal Legal Services Redfern is remembered for your energy, enthusiasm and capacity to effect change. You wanted to understand not only how things work, but how they could work better. You were both a disciplined manager of court rostering, a master of spreadsheets and workflows, and a supportive sounding board. Approachable for clients, Your Honour demonstrated a real apprehension of the systemic issues faced by clients, particularly Indigenous clients. From the time of your appointment as a magistrate, Your Honour began in the local court, serving at the Downing Centre, the Hunter Valley and North Sydney, and then in the Children's Court at Broadmeadow and Surrey Hills. As a children's magistrate, you raised awareness of underdiagnosed and underassessed fetal alcohol spectrum disorder among children engaged in the justice system, and you promoted a whole-of-lifespan perspective on the social and neurodevelopmental context of offending. Your Honour has a great sense of initiative in bringing stakeholders together. You effectively linked local young people caught in a cycle of repeat offending who appeared destined for jail with Big Brother mentors from the Newcastle Knights, creating relationships based in respect and admiration. You also presented at local schools, working closely with both students and principals. Your vision of juvenile justice is holistic, individualised and grounded in real life. In reference to the Children's Court foyer, you once said, if the foyer's going well, the court can run well. The foyer's an opportunity to engage with young people and their families to try to overcome obstacles and to work together. While at Broadmeadow, you instigated pilot programs bringing stakeholders around one table, often over morning tea. Educators, academics, departmental representatives and the police all worked together at your initiative, inspired by Your Honour to think beyond the ways that things are normally done and find creative solutions to seemingly intractable problems. The profession anticipates that you will develop new and innovative ways of breaking cycles of offending, having witnessed your willingness to go out on a limb and do brave and vulnerable things for the sake of others. On the bench, you've displayed kindness to those before you. Have I actually said what a delight you are to appear in front of? Firm when you need to be, but pleasant, accessible, and never short of a smile. You excel in communicating in direct and comprehensible language with lawyers and youth alike. You also use quite direct non-verbal communication to correct matters if lawyers are, by contrast, being incomprehensible or wordy. Your Honour's care for the profession means you'll pick up the phone to ensure colleagues are okay if they're sitting at a registry alone, or sit down to eat with somebody who's sitting by themselves. You're alive to practice development and welfare issues in the courtroom and attentive to the progress of young lawyers. And I remember discussing that with you the first time we met. Young solicitors need look no further than Your Honour for an exemplar and encouragement, because you were the youngest ever appointed magistrate in New South Wales, which is just amazing. Your Honour's close-knit family, mum and dad, Jan and Lindsay, hiding around there. Your sisters, the creative genius, I'm told, the spies say, Jess, and the recently appointed president of the Australasian College of Emergency Medicine, Claire. Your partner, Judge Tim Gartleman, hiding up in the back row, and children Sam, Lecky and Eliza, sitting there. You should be so proud of your mum. It's just such a wonderful day for her. They are immensely proud of you. Now, notably, you became a mum while in the role of magistrate, so that is a pretty rare path to tread, but one you walked with aplomb. Your enthusiasm and engagement in your children's lives has imbued them with enjoyment and interest. This appointment means Your Honour and Judge Gartleman are now colleagues, now sharing not just your love of family, but also a commission as judges of the District Court. As a friend and colleague, Your Honour is loyal and steadfast. So students of the 5 love languages would not dispute that Your Honour's preferred language is that of imaginative gift-giving. Some friends have been lucky enough to be in receipt of that rare offering from Your Honour, not a candle or diffuser, which would be my first choice, but a birthday wrap. Your Honour is known for your crack of dawn wake-ups, and you used to ride into work to Broadmeadow early via the Fernley track. While in Newcastle, you ensured that by the time your colleagues woke up each morning, they'd received one of your famous sunrise photos. Your Honour also has a reputation for fine baking, with your brownies and cookies particularly relished. Other magistrates have bemoaned that you are putting them to shame because they can't do as well with their brownies. Even when faced with the mundane of tasks, Your Honour sees an opportunity to inject fun. My spies, and there are many of them, tell me that you bring mischief and magic to the lives of those around you, and you're not afraid to use humour as a point of connection in court. Your Honour is famously tenacious and a force to be reckoned with in and out of court. When on a trip to New York, you learnt that Billy Joel was doing his anniversary concert there, and so it became your mission to get invited out onto his boat. I don't know if you did or not, but you can tell me later over a cup of tea. Similarly, you discovered Hugh Jackman was having a premiere performance in Manhattan, and you were convinced that you could get to meet him waiting for hours at the bottom of the venue's escalator for that purpose. When it was suggested this might be a fruitless exercise, you responded, "We're Australian, of course he'll let us in." So, unafraid to put yourself out there, you recently performed a skit with a fellow magistrate in a takeoff of the Chief Magistrate's suggestion box. In your last moments walking onto the stage, you and your fellow thespian privately wondered whether the skit would result in a special joint sitting of both Houses of Parliament having to be convened at the request of the real-life Chief Magistrate to seek your removal from your posts. Fortunately, Your Honour lived to tell the tale and take up this appointment, and the skit was a hit. When COVID-19 struck, Your Honour lifted morale by enlisting colleagues in the creation of light-hearted videos, perhaps in the local court's answer to TikTok. One was the Pink Ribbon Challenge, where craft activities had to be performed exclusively with legal tape. Many colleagues attribute making it through the last 2 years with their sanity intact, possibly a little bit ruffled around the edges, but mostly intact, because of Your Honour's riotous sense of humour. This extended to Christmas, when Your Honour's virtual Advent calendar resulted in humorous videos being sent daily for a month. By the end of the 30 days of Christmas, even Your Honour would have to admit being thoroughly exhausted. Your Honour, you've been celebrated for the genuine humanity you bring to the bench and your ability to engage with people in a way that affects meaningful change. You've been absolutely dedicated to the Children's Court jurisdiction, committed to finding a better way forward for each child that came before you. As President of the Children's Court, you will bring a driving and transformative belief that the court can help bring out the best in each young person that comes before it, viewing the court not as an instrument of punishment, but as an agent of genuine rehabilitation. The solicitors of this state look forward to watching that journey unfold, and I warmly congratulate you on your appointment as President of the Children's Court. And on a final note, our mutual friend Liz says you'll be amazing, and I agree, as the court pleases.
Thank you, President Warren. Judge Skinner.
Thank you. We sit on level 21 of a building that lies on Gadigal land. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I also acknowledge that too many Aboriginal people have been through these courts. I was recently in Moree and I met Jenny Swan from Grandmothers Against Removal New South Wales. Jen commented that we ask Aboriginal communities to welcome us to their lands, which they do, despite them knowing that we will lock them up and take away their children. It's confronting, isn't it? We can't change the history, but we can change the future, and we must, and it is a commitment that all of us share. It is such an honour to be appointed to a role where I can be part of that change. I look forward to working alongside the courageous and resilient Aboriginal community members who will educate us about the impact of colonisation on First Nation people and the importance of identifying strengths in family. Family is culture and culture is belonging. Thank you, Mr. Attorney. I am astonished and elated to be given this opportunity, and I am chuffed that you made time to be here this morning. Thank you, Chief Judge, for your warm and compassionate welcome to this bench. And thank you, President Warner, for not sharing all of Lizzie's stories. I am grateful for your time and careful words. I opted for a ceremony to bring us together, and I wanted to address my colleagues, old and new, about how these jobs change us. I was appointed to the local court when I was 33. I was too young and nervous about making all my mistakes in public, and I was very, very excited. I have grown up in the judiciary. I've moved courts and moved houses. I've done my country service twice. I've had my children, and I've made lifelong friends. In court, I have been challenged, complimented, abused, entertained, and frightened. I have sought counsel, but every decision has been my own. Some days I've made over 100 decisions, some days I have made none, and some days I wished I could walk out that courtroom door and never walk back in. It is such a privilege, a responsibility, a burden, and a pleasure to spend our days on the bench serving the community. We meet people during their points of crisis, and each person deserves a respectful, consistent, and transparent judicial decision. I have made many mistakes in courtrooms over the years, but I hope everyone who has walked into my court walked out knowing what happened and why it happened. It's a challenging role. Community expectations are not always aligned with judicial responsibilities. The content of our work is either sad or bad, and often both. What happens in our days becomes our norm, and our norm becomes the world we see. We change the way we look at the world by seeing it through a lens of what we can do to improve it and by remembering the sample we see of society is so small. In the Children's Court, I've been given the freedom to explore opportunities to change the cycle of disadvantage. I stepped outside the courtroom and into the community, armed with biscuits, North Shore sandwiches, some ideas and a smile, and the community walked towards the court. I am so lucky to be here. Luck has a little to do with timing, but I've read that lucky people are persistent and resilient. Resilience enables us to withstand stress and trauma, and resilience is founded in the strength of our relationships, and I can survive almost anything because of the people who surround me. I can't name everyone, but I will name more than I should. I am terribly impatient, so I'll forgive anyone who walks out or cuts the stream. Please know that if you're receiving too many texts, emails, suggestions, requests or gifts, that you are part of the scaffolding that holds me up through the days. I am grateful for the friends who checked in over the past few months and to the many people who took time to send a message about my appointment. I'm also very grateful for those of you who have made the effort to be here this morning. A wise friend advised me to limit my thanks to 5 people. That was impossible, so I'm limiting my thanks to 5 categories because I'm a lawyer. I'll start with my time in Newcastle. At Broadmeadow Children's Court, we developed a project where services collaborated to meet the social welfare needs of the children in our criminal list. No problem was unsolvable for Susan, Tina, Erin and Judy, and the project was supported by the prosecutors and defence lawyers. We do a much better job when we do it together with respect for our different roles, priorities and boundaries. Broadmeadow are live streaming. The outstanding people in the registry and foyer know how irritating I can be with an idea, and I know I would not be here without them. Mr Attorney, thank you and your government for funding the Broadmeadow project, the extraordinary Youth Career Court, A Place to Go, and many other initiatives that don't just change the lives of young people, they inspire service providers and community members with the belief that they can actually make a difference. The local commanders in Newcastle and Lake Macquarie gave me a platform, or soapbox, from which I spoke to police about how our cultural differences might prevent us from seeing that we all want the same outcomes for these kids. Brett and Danny are now rallying the police in the West to think strategically about policing young people. Danny, thank you for your energetic support, and Brett, thank you for being you. The best part of my Newey life was landing in a street within walking distance of 2 of the most amazing women I've ever known. Sarah Kenner and their families have made Dudley our home. Our friendship has been filled with lively conversation, inexplicable sporting injuries, creative ideas and stupid challenges. Their spirits sustain and delight me. The judicial officers we become are a medley of the judicial officers we have seen, and again, I'm sorry I can't thank you all. I've had an excellent role model. Judge Johnston is a grand master in the game of chess that is life. He is astute and humane, and he is always on the lookout for a mind at work. Judge Johnston has proven that with supportive and strategic management, pawns can move like queens. Judge Dive was the senior children's magistrate when I worked for the Children's Legal Service. If there was such a thing as a perfect judicial voice that rings in my head, it belongs to Judge Dive. He is an inspiration. Thank you, Judge Henson, for seeing something in me and for presenting my name to now Judge Hatzistakos. I have benefited from your support and guidance. And during the time I was in the local court, I learnt much from the irrepressible Paul Cloran, the pragmatic and direct Jane Motley, the insightful Jane Culver, who is one of those rare women who helps other women bloom, and Chris O'Brien, who still finds time to workshop issues of life or law with decency and warmth. Turning next to the local court, I have frequently benefited from the wisdom of my brothers, sisters, aunts and uncles on the collegial local court bench. Thank you all, but a special thanks to Truscott, Farn and Still Mabbott and the sensational Ian Guy for consistently solving problems that stumped me. Thank you to the chicks for all you've done and all you should have told me not to do. My confidants, Karen Robinson and Carolyn, my sis Stafford, Erin and Katie Kate. Thank you to Stone for checking in at points of crisis and to Duncan for holding my hand through an unsteady year. Divine has bridged the chasm between human and cyclist in my work and home. The brilliant Dave Williams often teases me about whether it hurts when the manna from heaven rains down upon me. Of course not, Dave. Some of that manna is you. Over the years, Judge Henson brought my closest friends to work. Hattie's family are almost my family. It feels like her mum and dad are in my bones. She's so smart, and her spider sense checks in when I need it. Toss and I have dissected many human behaviours over a block of lint. James has placated me, grounded me and laughed with me for 20 years. Kira's curiosity and care mean she's forwarded the transcripts from inside my head, and Caleb always reminds me of the things that matter. Some of the friends I've met through work are not in my workplace. Lloyd's perspective is invaluable. He is such a good sounding board and such a good sport. Jihad is the silliest person I've ever met, but this state is incredibly lucky to have his heart on the payroll. Dave Evenden is interested in everything and can be trusted with anything. Rob Munro calms me with his strong inner compass. And Dan Taylor is always the fun in my pocket, and I'll be proud if my children develop a tenth of his generosity. I hope you all have a friend who will fly across the world or travel 10 hours at short notice just because you are worth the effort. President Warner's dream team, Matt Lizzie, has the fastest and most capable brain I have ever encountered, and she uses it to educate, entertain, trick me and treat me. She's in Brisbane and she was a bit dirty about the start time because she had to get to work early. Brenna is my oldest friend and she can disarm anyone with her humour and warmth. Bren inadvertently provided me with a skill set that will be useful in this role. I've witnessed the challenge of being a young person growing up between two cultures. All young people who are fluent in peppering their parents' first language with English swear words should know they may come out the other side of adolescence as a truly beautiful person. And my family have been waiting for this part. A children's magistrate can't help but become a lay expert in parenting, and my parents gave me the one thing I wish I could promise the kids in the care jurisdiction. I have been well and truly loved. I am as capable as I think I am, and the confidence I bring to this role stems from always having someone back me, even when I haven't deserved it. This achievement is more a credit to my parents than to me, as we treat people how we were treated, and the best in me comes from the positive qualities in them. Dad made me do what I said I would do and finish every job I started, and Mum made me bring sunshine to every day. My sister Claire is impressive in every way, and she'll be responsible for implementing strategies in the delivery of health services that will change all of our lives. And Jess is Jess. She'll laugh when I laugh, she'll cry when I cry, and when I don't reciprocate, she'll chip away at my heart of stone. She's whip smart, creative, generous and funny, and I can't imagine a day without her. I'm looking forward to living closer so our kids benefit from the love and support of Jess and her husband Bill. Children tap into these networks of love and support forever. My aunts Meg and Susan have been such strong, wise and entertaining women as I muddle through my life. They may never shake me. During this year, Meg and Uncle Chick let me stay in their luxury apartment, enabling me to work with colleagues in Sydney while my family remained in Newcastle. As I was leaving Newcastle last year, I was told the legal community was sad to see me go, but I would be forgiven on the condition I left them my husband. Tim is a genuine, decent, considered, independent, intelligent, somewhat difficult man. It's not easy for him living with someone who sees the world in what can be improved and expends so much energy outside the home that she crashes and collapses into it. Tim has made the dinners, maintained the bikes, sat with scared kids through the night, and he's fielded legal questions only to be interrupted when his answers go on way too long. Sorry, Newcastle. He will soon be packing and moving again to remain beside me, supportive, bemused, and sharing the moments that make up the childhood of the three creatures we love the most. Like my mother did before me, I think my children are magic. They are each loving, funny, clever, and engaged. Sam has a remarkable information-gathering brain that sees the world in possibilities, and he is driving towards them at breakneck speed. Lecky is inquisitive, with a mind that comes at issues sideways. Lek has a comic sense of humour and a giggle that is always on the brink of an escape. And Eliza does not miss a thing. She is cuddly, kind, thoughtful, and already solving problems that don't belong to her. My role for the next 5 years will be to lead the Children's Court. Children's courts are courts of love. We see love in all forms: young, old, new, fragmented, fertile, destroyed, exhausted, dutiful, and unrequited love. Everyone is connected and everyone's heart can be broken. The staff, registrars and magistrates in the Children's Court have big hearts and a lot of hope. It's a difficult jurisdiction and every day takes a little skin off us. The Judicial Commission, particularly Una, provide an educational foundation to ensure we do the job properly.